Hi, today I have a NEWTs wrap up for you for August. I really enjoyed the NEWTs Readathon. I read 12 books total. Two of my classes I got Exceeds Expectation, two of them I got Acceptables, and two of them I got all three with an Outstanding. So I was really happy with that. So let's just go through the books I read and what classes and challenges they were for. So Astronomy, I got Acceptable and Exceeds Expectation. So Acceptable was read a book with stars on the cover. I read A Fire and Stars by Audrey Colehurst. This was a really good book. It's a female-female romance, so it was interesting to read from that perspective. Exceeds Expectation, it was read a book with Sky in the title. I read Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. This one was about like clan wars, kind of like I said Vikings earlier because that's what people are saying, but it's not Vikings, it's just like clan wars in general, tribes and stuff. But this was really good, it was interesting. And then for Care of Magical Creatures, I also got two books. Acceptable, it was read a book with an animal on the cover. I read Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. This is cute because it was about a boy, his family becomes homeless for a few months, and he has an imaginary cat friend who helps him through it. So it was cute. I recommend it if you like middle grade books. For Exceeds Expectation in Care of Magical Creatures, it was read a book that's under 160 pages. I read Sleepy Hollow and Other Short Stories. It's 120 pages long, so it was well under the page limit. I've never read any of Washington Irvine's stories. I think I've seen a version of Rip Van Winkle, but that was it, so it was nice to like sit down and read them. And then the next class I had was Herbology. I got all three in that: Acceptable, Exceeds Expectation, and the Outstanding. So for Acceptable, it was read a book with the green on the cover. I read Ausland by Wendy Spinelli. I also read Umberland and Everland before I read this, so it was really nice to finish up the trilogy with Ausland because I've been really excited about this book and I just haven't gotten around to it for some reason. For Exceeds Expectation, it was read a book with illustrations. I went with a comic book, Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. This one was fun because I play Dungeons & Dragons sometimes with my brother, so it was fun to like read a story about like a villain, but there's an apprentice who wants to like help him be bad, and it was just an interesting perspective, so it was cute. If you like comic books and like knights and stuff, you should read this one. For Exceeds Expectation or Outstanding, let's see. Yeah, Outstanding, it was book with light, air, sun, or water in the title. I read Coming Up for Air by George Orwell. This book was slow. It took me a while to read it, but it was still really good. It's like about this guy's memoirs, I guess, on his childhood, so it was interesting to like read it. It's not George Orwell's like memories, I mean it probably is, but it's fiction. But it's interesting to read, and just he goes back and everything's changed, so. And I've done that. I went back to my childhood home once, and it was the same but different, so it was nice to just relate, I guess, in that way. The next book I read was for History of Magic. It was Acceptable, book that fits in the Hogwarts library. I read Macbeth by William Shakespeare. This one was really fun. It's got really good lines in it, but I've never actually read Macbeth before. I've seen the opera, like I mentioned, but it was fun to like read the play. And then for Muggle Studies, I got all three with an Outstanding. So Acceptable, it was read a book by your favorite author. I read Beren and Luthien from J.R.R. Tolkien. I did not know that Christopher was still publishing books. This was published last year, and so it was really fun to like read new material from the collection of notes and the archives from Tolkien. So that was nice. And then for Exceeds Expectation, it was read a biography. I originally had planned to read Brad Paisley's autobiography, but I was looking at my shelves and I actually have Tony Bennett's autobiography, so I read this instead because then I didn't have to go out get it from the library. So Tony Bennett, Life is a Gift, the Zen of Bennett. He talks about singing, but he also talks about like, his artwork, which is cool. I didn't know that he was an artist, and he is, which is cool. So it was nice to read this. And then for the Outstanding in Muggle Studies, it was a retelling. I continued with the Blood and Snow series. This is book 6. A Beauty So Beastly. It's a Rochelle Workman book. And it's like the Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling. Belle is a werewolf in this series. So her name is Beatrice. And it was fun to like get back in the world because I haven't read any Blood and Snow books for a while. So it was fun to continue this. And I want to continue the series with the rest of them. And then the last book I read was for Transfiguration. It was acceptable, read a book with gray on the cover. I read The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. This book I also listened to, and it was really, really fun. It's like a spy novel almost, and it made me really want to read more Tom Clancy novels, and like the Jason Bourne series or something, because it was really intriguing, and it made me want to read more spy novels, I guess. So that was all 12 books that I read last month for NEWTs. Like I said, in addition to that, I did read the other 2 books for the Aslan trilogy, as well as finishing up a book I started previously. So I finished a total of 15 books, and that's a lot of books so far. I don't know what I'll read in September because I kind of have a burnout, but I'm really happy with my August wrap up. I read a lot. I read a lot of interesting books, some that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. So it was a really productive month, and I'm really happy with this readathon. I definitely want to continue doing that every year with Owls and the NEWTs. So I know that Book Roast has plans to do more things next year, so I'll definitely be checking that out. But yeah, that's it for now. See ya.